It is intentional. They cannot put forward good legislation for the purpose of us all supporting good legislation. There must always be a poison pill.
Are we starting with you, Mrs. Kusie? Perfect. Welcome back, Dogo. Floor is yours.
I love Kusie, but what is up with that outfit?
And another trend that I see with this government, Mr. Speaker, is that they can never seem to present a good piece of legislation without there being a poison pill. And this is the crux of C9, is that we are talking about obstructing access to religious institutions. And I mean, who could be opposed to the safe well-care, well-being of those who want to practice their religious freedoms at a time where 67% there is an increase in crimes targeting religion in 2023 compared to 2022. In 2024, 1,342 police-reported incidents were motivated by religion, and this included 900 incidents against the Jewish population, 211 incidences against the Muslim population, and over 100 Christian churches burned or vandalized since 2021. So, Mr. Speaker, C9 was a piece of legislation that we could support, that we could get behind. But the Liberal government does what it does, and it played politics. It put a poison pill of removing the religious defense in the criminal code. Why would they do that? Why would they do that, Mr. Speaker? Why would they remove the freedom of expression of the most deepest and dearest sentiments of humans in existence? Why would they do that? They would do that, Mr. Speaker, for politics, because they really don't want this to pass unanimously. They really don't want to see us working with them for Canadians, for the common good of Canada. They don't want this. This is a farce. And this does more than elude them. It is planned intentionally by them for their hopeful political gain. It is intentional. They cannot put forward good legislation for the purpose of us all supporting good legislation. There must always be a poison pill.
We're going to flip right over to some Ogle Committee Kusie action.
Has the Treasury Board provided specific direction to departments on how they will achieve the comprehensive expenditure review goals so that it's not end-loaded, so that they have an idea, a guideline as to how to work towards achieving these objectives?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were criteria given to each department, and the departments developed the proposals which were signed off by their minister. Their targets were basically to start off more slowly in 26-27, 7.5% of their targets, 10% the next year, and 15% in year 3. And the criteria we asked departments to apply were, is it core federal mandate? Does it duplicate or overlap other programs or responsibilities of provinces? Is it misaligned with government priorities? Are the programs achieving their outcomes? And also making sure there was no impact on service delivery, health, safety, or legal obligations.
Okay. How will you be tracking the implementation and progress made on the CER by departments?
So the easiest thing to do there, Mr. Chair, is the money will be removed from the estimates. And as you all know at this committee especially,
sounds good.
you cannot overspend what Parliament votes in terms of your ability to spend money. So departments will have their spending proposals or their budgets reduced in line with the approved proposals, starting with the main estimates for 26-27.
Right. Of course, I'm very apprehensive about the outcome of this exercise. I've been in this role now of the Shadow Minister for the Treasury Board for, my goodness, close to 4 years. And I have had a series of ministers who have attempted to implement similar programs with very limited success. So, for example, in 2023, Minister Anand announced an ill-hearted target of achieving $15 billion in savings. But we've seen through the public accounts and estimates that these savings were not largely achieved. So Then the 2024 public accounts indicated that 2024-2025 public accounts indicated that expenditures are up now for every ministry except for 4. So the savings have not materialized as far as I can see or Canadians can see from previous saving attempts. And I'm very concerned that the CER will have the same account. Now, I, of course, as an elected representative, I have throughout my time at government operations, and I know my fellow former colleagues on this committee will share the belief with me and my belief that it is fundamentally the elected representatives, those who are put in the position of ministerial responsibility, who ultimately carry the burden of having this. But of course, you, as their hands, are expected to implement this and to see their success. But I do hold them responsible. 2 weeks ago, the main estimates for 2026-2027 were released, and I looked at these numbers very closely, and I have a lot of concerns. The government is asking for a total of $502.8 billion in spending approvals. So even though, Mr. Matthews, you say if the money's not there, they will not be allowed to spend it, it is a lot of money that will still be there, as this is an increase of over $15 billion from the previous main estimates. And additionally, these estimates indicate that despite the promise in the budget through the CER to reduce spending, 64 departments and agencies are actually requesting more money than last year. We continue to go in the wrong direction with this Trudeau-Carney government, don't we? So last summer, ministers were instructed to find ambitious savings. Why has this been ignored in the government spending plan, according to you, in this fiscal year?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the way I would describe the current exercise, as well as previous, they're reallocation exercises. The government is looking to spend less in some areas to invest more in others. We all know the government has announced very large investments in national defense, so government spending will go up. Part of that is being funded by reductions in other areas. So it is really a reprioritization exercise to find programs that are not functioning properly or as desired, efficiencies that can be gained, but the government tabled its broader spending plans in Budget 2025, which does, as the member indicates, increase in spending.
Right. And I know that this committee, I'm sure it continues to be, as was during the period of time I was here, be seized by the concern of expenditures of consultants. So across government, consulting spending will increase to $26.6 billion in 2026-2027, which is a 39% increase from the final estimates tabled under the previous Prime Minister. So this is despite election promises from the current Prime Minister that he would reduce reliance on outside consultants. In your opinion, when do you think that consulting costs will finally decline?
Mr. Chair, I think consulting costs are coming down, the difference being consulting versus contractors. If you look at where, and they are all lumped together in the public accounts, and I can turn to the Controller General to explain, but the bulk of contracting costs are around engineering and architecture. And I would differentiate those things, nurses, et cetera, for First Nations versus management consulting. And the pure management consulting is a very small portion of that amount that the member referenced, but the Controller General might be able to offer some clarity there.
Yes, thank you. If you look at the public accounts, you made a reference to the public accounts. If you add the management consulting as well as the IT services, that represent roughly 14% of professional services, and it is about a decrease of 10% if you compare to last year public accounts. So we have seen a decrease this year public accounts compared to last year.
Were any consultants used in the creation of the CER?
Mr. Chair, or of any departments using consultants to help them with their CER. I know that has happened on occasion in previous exercises. I'm unaware of any this time around.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to return.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for watching, gang. Smash like, hit subscribe. Catch you in the next video. Cheers for now.